wants to sit in. Am I better at math? Are we doing math? Davey. Oh my God. We're going full time. Wait. One job. I'm quitting school. Okay, I don't think anybody could have prepared me for it. I think I was trying to prepare for a long time, but I just absolutely did not expect what went down. Hi everyone, my name is Kaylee. I am making this video because recently I quit my six-figure job in the tech industry to become a full-time YouTuber. Thank you. No, I'm not doing YouTube full-time, but I will be doing content creation. This was a big career move for me, and I'm sure if you're watching this video, you're maybe curious about it. You've seen other videos like this where people talk about these transition times in their lives. I watched a few myself. I definitely watched a few before I put in my notice, and I thought I would share a different perspective on the conversation. Every time you get to that point in life where you're at the edge of this new chapter, you just have to bang through that level and get through it to get to the other side. When you're at that point, there's going to be resistance. And I definitely experienced that. So I want to talk to you about that and share a different perspective just about the whole managing anxiety part of this whole thing, because it was insane, okay? Nobody really prepared me for the crying, screaming, throwing up that would happen. Just to give you a little bit of a background, I have been in marketing my whole entire career. I always had entrepreneurship on my radar because I always balanced whatever jobs I did with freelancing or consulting work. I really loved being able to connect with people, do creative projects, serve people, support people, really create an impact and just gain experience through that channel of my work. It felt really empowering. It always helped give me a leg up in my career where I was able to gain more experience faster, build my network faster, etc. I didn't necessarily have a timeline where I needed to be doing my own business. It was more so about what work I was focused on, what was interesting me at the time. And so I found myself in really amazing different roles in my marketing career. A few years ago, I had gotten connected with Cyber Collective, a nonprofit that's at the intersection of cybersecurity, data privacy, and social justice. Those three different categories, not many people put them together or look at them from a social justice lens, but all of that is very important. You've seen the headlines, you've seen the conversations around AI, the cybersecurity attacks, the potential influence through our social media platforms, all of it. It's all very overwhelming, but Cyber Collective exists to really make sure that people understand the impact technology is having so that we can better protect ourselves, better protect our loved ones, and then also demand better outcomes as we all figure out these very real life things happening right now together. I'm very passionate about our mission, especially as somebody who has, grown up with technology, worked with technology my whole life, and has experienced, I think, the firsthand positives and negatives of using social media, the internet, as frequently as I do. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. Anyway, I will talk more about those topics in upcoming videos. I really came in to join the team to support with strategy for marketing and programming. And our work together really led us to be able to get some significant grants and funding from Omidyar Network, Hewlett Foundation, and most recently, the Responsible Tech Youth Power Fund, which is actually funded by Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, which is really cool. So we had been balancing our full-time positions in Cyber Collective for a long time. I had always been juggling that, right? Full-time position, side hustle to make sure you're still marketable in case your full-time position goes away. But at some point last year, especially after we got all of the great news about the funding that came in, it really started to become clear that Cyber Collective as the business itself needed more. It needed more commitment from us. It needed more attention. And we were at this make or break point. And if we were going to continue to split up our time in different ways, it just wouldn't be able to become what we felt it could be. So I had that feeling. I'm going to call it a knowing. I got that knowing. And then what happens after I think you get a knowing that you have to make a change in your life, that you have to level up and that you can't just procrastinate those things anymore, I think your body and your mind has to reckon with that knowing that comes in your soul. So for the next several weeks, I was a mess. I was anxious. I couldn't stop crying. I was so scared. And I was trying to do everything I could to make sure that this transition that really felt like I was just jumping off a cliff, even though it wasn't, had all of the different safety nets or things that I could do to de-risk it. By the time I was able to have the conversation where I was able to put in my notice, it still didn't feel like I had all these things together. It just very much still felt like I was jumping off a cliff. At that point, I had always thought of abundance as doing more and more and more, right? Like I felt like I was really winning by being able to balance a full-time job and do this on the side and grow it at the pace that I wanted to and be able to feel fulfilled and balance friends and balance family and balance my dog and balance my health, all of those things. I thought it was abundance to have all of those things squished in one. And what I had to realize once I got that knowing was I had to step forward into like a new definition of fulfillment and a new definition of a fulfilling life, which is where you do have to let things go to have space for new things to come to you and to flourish and to grow. I knew that this was going to be such a happy decision for me. I was just so scared. And one of the things that I realized about myself going through this is, man, when I am scared, I will do whatever it takes to just hold on until the very last moment, just like literally white knuckles, like I will not let go. It was weird because it was like I wanted to completely let go, and then at the same time I was the only one holding on so long and holding myself back so long. I tried to do a lot of nervous system regulation around it, but my journal entries at the time, or my conversations that I've had with like friends and family at the time were just so ridiculous because it was like I had already done the work to make sure that I was comfortable with the transition. And then what would happen was I kept like coming up with more things that I needed to feel comfortable with the transition. And then I did those things. And then everything that I kept making excuses for of what I would need before I took those next steps just kind of went away. The boxes got checked. I did my due diligence on the things that I needed to do. Issues or excuses or timelines that I had figured out that I was afraid of just kind of all went away. And I just realized that already, like even when I had made my decision, there was nothing holding me back per se. I could have taken the risk then, but then all of the things that I needed to feel even more comfortable with taking the risk all settled down until the point where I was just like, it's gotta happen. It's going to happen. This is the path. This is the only way. I'm really proud of that process. It did not look pretty at all. And one of the other things that I didn't expect that I'm also constantly working on in my relationships is that people didn't really understand that process that I was going through, or why I was so emotional about it. So it was also a very lonely time. This like fear response was triggered in me, and it's really good to be able to have that awareness to understand when you're going through these experiences in life where you're leveling up, which part of you is reacting out of your like logical decision, and then what parts of your body and your mind are having a natural reaction to that you have to manage so that you can stay grounded in your truth and what you need to know moving forward. Now, those were things that I just really didn't expect. I honestly felt no relief until the very last day where my laptop was shut down, I signed off because that meant that I had jumped off a cliff and I was here into this, new era. And it's been 3 months since I officially put in my notice and was able to start fully focusing on Cyber Collective. And some of the other things that I didn't expect about this whole process definitely came once that last chapter was shut. And I had to go through several weeks of just like reorienting to the chapter I'm in now, where I am in now, who I am now, what it means for my own personal growth, self-development, attitude about how I show up to my work, all of that, because I made that decision, and what's next. And the next phase that I want to talk about is like the unlearning phase, because as I would go through the day-to-day of, working on Cyber Collective, growing it with a team, creating the strategy, pitching for fundraising, all of those things, there's so many elements about the way that we all work together and the way that we're building up this company that are different than what I would do within the corporate world. Some things are the same. We're definitely using like certain strategies and how to grow and how to document our information and onboard team members. Like, I'm not talking about necessarily those things, but it was just crazy how once that part was behind me, how the new space that opened up really just made the contrast so clear of the things that I participated in corporate culture, the things that were the norm that just didn't exist in our day-to-day at the company we're at now because of very intentional choices that we're making. I always really believe that it is a choice to, lead with your values, et cetera, et cetera. And obviously companies are in very different stages, but we really value transparency. We really value communication. We really value like being upfront with feedback and being honest and having difficult conversations. And you have to be able to be at this stage. And it's just so interesting to me. Oh, and we really value efficiency. We don't want to make the same mistake twice, where everything that happens, every little bump in the road, we learn from it and we make changes for the better. And again, not every company has dynamics where it's really easy to navigate that. But there was definitely this phase once I left that world and was able to start fresh, where things really felt fresh. Things really felt like it could all be aligned to my integrity and how I wanted to do my work and how I wanted to grow. And that was such a weight lifted off my shoulders. The next phase that comes is just the mind-boggling, just like gratitude and appreciation and the challenge in the freedom that you now have. There was some video that I was listening to along the way that talked about how there's freedom in choices. Freedom, people think at times means having all of the options in front of you to choose whatever you want to do. But the freedom is actually in the choice, making it clear and taking the rest of the choices off of the table so that you can move forward with conviction in what you're going to do. And when I started to really process just like what actually this chapter of my life was looking like, what it could look like, I was just so grateful, but I am also still overwhelmed. The anxiety is definitely not as bad as it was. The optimism is there, the hope is there, but the responsibility is really great. There's so much responsibility that comes obviously from, investing your time, your money, your resources, your attention into a company to build it up. There's trade-offs that you make to do that, and there's choices that you have to make to be able to manage that freedom for the direction that you want to go. So I'm definitely still experimenting. I haven't found the right perfect balance yet, and I don't think that I ever will, because I think it will always be an ebb and flow. But it definitely feels like the work is not over, and while leaving my job and just going through that mental process of making that decision was really hard, I think that the phase I'm in, while it's less painful at times, that process really prepared me to be able to have the mind and the strength that I do now to make those choices and navigate my days, navigate my decisions, which are very much going into the foundation of whatever I'm building. both Cyber Collective as a company, myself up as a leader, my career story to support like my future income sustainability. I definitely do not take that lightly, but it's just this whole other challenge to figure out. And I don't think I would have been able to have such strength in the way that I'm approaching it if I didn't go through the purge that I had to go through back in the fall. So if you're watching this, if you made it to the end, I would love to know where you're at in your career if you're thinking about making similar decisions. Just remember that any feelings that you have about this entire process are very much valid. There's no right or wrong way to feel. And you can have done all of like the de-risking in the world, had like checked all of your boxes, crossed all your T's, dotted your I's, and you are still allowed to have very real feelings of fear as you head into the next chapter. But just know that if you do, whatever is going to be on the other side is, I believe, always worth it for the lessons that you're going to learn, for the respect you'll have for yourself in navigating that and staying committed to what you know to be true to you, and for life's next challenge that it's going to throw at you. So thank you for watching. You can expect more videos on my channel. I'm going to be posting more just about technology. I have a few video essays coming up, especially because, as you know, with Cyber Collective, we talk about the impact of technology. I really want to talk more just about, how technology affects our lives, how intertwined it is, whether we want it to be or not, and how we can have better relationships with technology, especially as people who are creatives, leaders, influencers, whatever it is, people on the internet. I want to explore some of that stuff with you. So definitely subscribe, and I will see you soon on another video.